the way I think of myself.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into the DNVR show, the DNVR Nuggets podcast.
Let's go.
Flames, fire,
no vote. Yeah, I prefer the real air horn in these times.
In these times that we are in. We're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download it, use promo code DNVR. You never know. Maybe tomorrow we get some crazy bets we're all going to place together in solidarity tomorrow.
Yeah, you don't want to lose. And then imagine not losing money alongside us.
Yeah, exactly. Who would do that?
Losing money on your own? Who does that?
Guys, we got a great show planned for you today. I'm going to introduce the cast starting over here, the man with the wind in his hair who showed up today on this summer day like he was getting ready to climb Everest.
Well, a lot of people get intimidated by the bright lights of the studio, start sweating, get a little hot.
Is that you?
They need to wear shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I always stay calm, cool, and collected.
I think you're hiding your sweat is what you're doing.
All the same, dude.
That's not true.
He's saying like in a long form. He's a goddamn pro, Adam.
He is a pro. There's one thing you could say about him. He's a pro. Not a pro is D-Line-Co.
I so deeply and so far the other direction. Whatever. Like, I mean, I do this. Am I an amateur? I don't know what I am. I'm a liability. Let's go.
And then the wise sage of the Denver Nuggets universe. Nuggets, what is it called? Cinematic universe?
The NCU.
The NCU. the wise old page. It's Jeff Morton.
What is up, everybody?
Oh.
I like that you get into the deep voice when it's time to.
What is up? No, I can only talk like this on podcasts. You know, soothe people to sleep.
No, it's very soothing. It's very,
this is we put this on at the middle of the day, hoping to lull people to sleep. So by all means, stay in that voice.
Welcome to siesta, everyone.
Yes. Well, this is why you had me on, because there was the demographic you were missing.
Absolutely,
the sleeping one.
The sleeping demo.
Yeah, but for real, Jeff is a godfather of sorts of the digital age of Denver media.
Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah, a long time. And my former colleague at Denver Stiffs, we said, you were a little bit before me, but we started in the trenches together, the Brian Shaw era.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Brian Shaw was almost up for a job.
I know. Somebody
this
said
cycle.
So Sham's report, I thought he said it was Chicago, which would have been our tourist, but then people said Indiana, which we know is no longer the case because actually we can go ahead and start. I wasn't going to start there, but it was on my list. Rick Carlisle.
Way to go, Harrison.
I was hoping for some Brian Shaw stories from
Joe.
Brian Shaw. Oh my God, there's too many of which I can't tell.
Oh,
but there's
has the
statute of limitations. Yeah, it's passed. It's passed.
I think it's run out.
You can slander is free now.
How about this? For his first year, Nate Robinson is there, and we walk into the locker room, and Nate Robinson is screaming at the top of his lungs. And you wouldn't think someone who is my size would be able to have his voice carry in a certain way like that. But not only was he screaming about Brian Shaw.
About Brian Shaw
in the shower, by the way. He was in the shower, so we could. It was reverberating up.
He wasn't singing. He was
getting a lot of really prescient details here.
It was full of like words that I, as a person who is not of color, I cannot repeat.
Okay, all right.
And it was all exclusively about Brian Shaw. And while he's doing this, Shaw walks through the locker room.
Poor guy, man. Honestly, poor guy.
He hears it and goes like this.
Oh,
and keeps
Brian
walking.
Shaw.
And it was one of the saddest things I'd ever seen.
You know what's funny about Brian Shaw, though, is that because he was in Indiana. Do you remember when this was happening, when the team had turned on him and it became this big public thing?
Right.
All of the Indiana guys were like, how can you hate B. Shaw? Like, he's the best dude. Like, So he was extremely loved in the locker room.
He was looked at as a great hire when Denver did hire him.
Great hire, players coach. They all love him. And then he gets here and they all hate him. And like, so it's funny if you think back there, Jeff, because do you know what happened also after they fired Brian Shaw? I believe it was the same year. They upgraded the locker room because the locker room used to be like way outdated.
Oh yeah. The locker room used to have the old maroon logo on it. Before they changed it. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, when you change the color scheme, you've got to change the color scheme of the locker room.
So this was circa like 2000. and it was obviously it
That'd be
had
awkward
been
as
there,
hell.
and it was dingy, and it was it was good that they upgraded.
But I'm just saying, like, the Tim Conley era. Tim Conley was the first blood in. Like Josh Kroenke, I guess, is technically the first one in, but
Right.
we'll call it the Tim Conley, Josh Kroenke era, where they kind of took over. The first 2 years, or was it 1 year, was the locker rooms are old, like you said, the logo's old, the players are old, J.J. Hickson and JaVale McGee and Nate Robinson, and you bring in Shaw and he immediately fails. But part of me wonders if he was too early.
Well, there's a great story about Shaw, and it probably encompasses why everything went wrong. The very first training camp we had with him, Nate Timmons, godfather of all Nuggets bloggers, comes with me to, I think it was a training camp day, and we're talking about there was some debate about who was going to start at the power forward position. Be it Kenneth Faried or J.J. Hickson at the time.
Got to go JJ on that.
Don't miss these debates, by the way. Like,
What a
and it was-
classic training camp
Yeah,
battle.
and it was
classic.
looking back on that, I'm like, wow, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. But anyway, so Shaw gets into his, he stands where Malone stands now, against that wall, and he said, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start J.J. Hickson Kenneth Faried at power forward, and we're like, oh, okay. So Nate and I go over to talk to J.J. Hickson, and we say, so what do you think about Brian Shaw saying that Kenneth Faried's going to start, assuming that he had been informed?
Oh, right.
He had not been informed.
Wow.
His face went,
Yeah.
and he was like, oh man, I had no idea. And Nate and I are looking at each other thinking, oh, he didn't tell you? No, man. No, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's
And it was
a
right-
golden rule for coaches. Tell your players before you tell the media.
I'm picking up on a theme here. All of your stories involve people hearing bad news and their face changing.
Yes,
and then
but
feeling psychologically devastated
Look,
and then walking off.
This man here came into the tail end of the Shaw era.
I was
could
there
tell
for
you-
1 day. Right
he
before
could
he's
tell you
fired.
the vibe of the locker room was
Wasn't
not
great.
were they
was
was it
not good.
Were the vibes immaculate?
No.
Okay, cool.
They were
not.
terrible. They were terrible vibes.
I mean, but honestly, though, there is something too. This is what's so interesting about the Nuggets is it's really hard to credit any one individual for the success or failures, along the way, because we did this I think we did this last year. We had the big debate: is it Tim Conley or is it Michael Malone that deserves the credit for the culture? And I think it's like both.
Yeah.
It's so intertwined that you can't really tell. But you look at Brian Shaw, and he certainly 100% was the fall guy. Like, he got here and everything was terrible, and he rapped and nothing was happening. We had Ty Lawson and Nate Robinson, J.J. Hicks,
Right.
Gandhi could not have brought that locker room together.
And aside
Well, they
from
won 57 games the year before.
well,
Is that-
and aside from
What's that?
Melvin Hunt,
they won 57 games the year before. Then they got rid of George Carl, Brian Shaw, and it all fell apart. We didn't need Gandhi. We just need to keep George Carl.
That's probably fair.
well, it was. He was also plagued. Aside from Melvin Hunt, he was plagued by horrible assistants too. Awful.
Yeah.
Some of the worst I'd ever seen. One in particular was the bane of all Nuggets media.
Who?
Was it Bane?
It was Lester Connor.
Oh, that's right.
Lester Connor was. There's a lot of things that went on during that time that were just
Forgot
not,
about that.
were not good, and he was one of the coaches they needed to get rid of him, and that was part of the deal. He was awful. Just the whole package just wasn't.
You're
good.
right, though, about Melvin Hunt, man. I love that dude. When he took over.
I know. I really wanted him to be hired.
Me too, man. I really did, because
He's in Atlanta.
Yeah, he's an assistant now. He's one of those guys that seems to keep being an assistant. But do you remember how much the players loved him? I mean, again, it was like we hated Ryan Shaw, so we loved the replacement.
The assistant coach is always like, the players.
Kenneth Faried, his first team, all loves the assistant coach. Remember when Wes Unseld filled in for one game and he was like dousing with water and hugging him? It was like, you're the best. And it was like very clear. He was like,
he's like, here's the game ball, coach.
Yeah, game ball. We just want you to know we love you and we wish you were ours.
We're just so happy a game got managed the right way for once.
It's funny though. J.J. Hickson and Kenneth Faried are both they beefed ultimately at the end, unhappy with their roles, and then just were out of the league a year later. They were like, you know what? I'll show them, and then
Adapt or die.
Well, it was
the
wasn't
saying
it when
goes.
they got Millsap that Faried was like,
I'm
I'm
the starter."
the starter. I'm
Like 3 years, 90
That's
million.
honestly, if you said the top 5 most memorable, this will be a fun game. The top 5 most memorable media moments for the Nuggets over our years. That one with Kenneth Faried is definitely in the top 5. Because it was so unforced.
And do you remember how Kenneth Fareed didn't show up at Media Day until like
Super
an
late.
hour after
Yep,
the
made
interview?
everybody wait.
And then we got the text, and it was like, Kenneth's here, by the way. And like, oh, okay,
walking out to our cars like, what?
And then we
back
go
now
up to
for
interview him. And
I remember because I was with Chad Andrews, was helping us at Denver Stiffs that year do some of the interviews, and he said something like, "You're the longest tenured Nugget," which actually wasn't true. He was not. But he's like, "The longest tenured Nugget. How does that feel?" And he's like, like, fine, I guess. Like he was like setting him up for a feel good. And he's like, no, I'm not taking it. And then it was like, I don't even remember what the question was, but he like pivoted to like, I'm just gonna put this out there. I'm a starter. It was like he's like, I'm not answering your guys' dumb questions. I want to tell you this.
The most memorable one I ever had was Aaron Aflalo after he'd been come back, so it was Media Day, and he was so happy. That man was so happy. It was just like talking about the things he could do, all that stuff. And then we get to training camp, and he was the most miserable guy I'd ever seen. It was literally 2 weeks, and it was like, wow.
Players can force their way out of a situation.
Right.
I mean, Bol tried. I guess he didn't succeed.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't. I don't know.
No.
Another top one, Austin Rivers this year. That his presser was like an all-timer, in my opinion. Will Barton.
Which one? Where everybody F's with Mike?
Everybody else with Mike, man. I mean, like, well, almost every. But the first one where because there was actually like 5 questions that he answered, and all of them were just so insightful on the team, and like
Right.
Brait and Wells. It is just great. He talked about Michael Porter. They decide who you are. So that was up there, a whole nother place in a whole nother space from Will Barton.
my
Like
God, man.
Will
That
Barton
was
brought
a
so many bangers,
classic.
but I don't even remember the game. I don't remember the circumstance. I just remember Will Barton was the most supremely confident and suave person I've ever seen. You know, like
well, the
I
thing
hate that we're
about
talking about him in the past tense,
The-
by the way.
yeah.
I'm saying in this interview.
the thing
though.
about
I
the
think it was your
Will
interview.
Barton post game sermons is Will is always the last one to shower and get dressed.
Yeah.
So it's just a couple reporters who hang around to the very end,
Right.
and Will Barton, and nobody else is in the locker room, and he would just like go on these speeches, man, and he just got in the zone sometimes.
He was-
and that was the whole nother space, whole nother place.
Speaking of Aaron Aflalo, that's who Will Barton came back from, and Thomas Robinson.
Oh, that's right.
Who was
Yeah.
axed immediately, but it was
Nuggets won that trade though. I mean, just
yeah.
from Barton for Aflalo, like that's-
Absolutely.
they got so many years out of Will Barton. He was a very good player.
One of the media day ones I remember.
I think we
is,
also got a pick out of that. I think we also got a first round pick.
we did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Let's go. We won, dude.
Final media one is when we were all asking Jameer Nelson about being a mentor to Emmanuel Mudiay. Do you guys remember
Was
this?
that
He
Oh yeah, that was a great one. That's
And,
yeah.
um,
Was that up in Boulder?
No. It was here. I think it was here at
That
Pepsi
might
Center.
have been before Mudiay's rookie year,
Okay.
or maybe before his
second,
sophomore
maybe. Yeah,
year.
might have been second year.
But
Second
you
year.
know, like a classic cookie cutter question is always to the veteran point guard.
Yeah.
Oh, are you going to be like a mentor guy to Emmanuel Mudiay? And Jameer's like, no, man. Like I'm trying to play. Like I'm trying to start. Like I'll help him out, but he's gonna have to
Big
just
Joe
like learn the
Flacco
way.
vibe.
Can I
Holy
tell you though?
cow.
No, but can I tell you the longer I've been doing this now, I actually respect the hell out of that.
Definitely.
Right.
Because now I feel like I better see it from Jameer's perspective. Because at the time we were all like, Moutier's our guy. He's the face of the future,
Right.
and we need someone to come in here and sacrifice themselves for the betterment of Emmanuel Moutier. And he saw beyond that, where he's like, if he's good, he's gonna learn alongside
Yeah,
me
yeah,
and on
yeah.
the court, this and that. And if he's not, but there's no like, and he was just with it. He's like, no, I'm here to compete with them. I'm here to do
Yeah.
this. And
I can't think of Moutier without thinking of Harrison and the and what happened with Ty Lawson. I cannot. The video,
Oh, the draft night.
the hookah video. And you
ruined
tweeted
his
it out.
life.
And
You really
I-
did.
and I-
You
and I-
really
yeah.
did.
And that really wasn't.
it wasn't in all.
It wasn't Harrison's video. You just put the video. You know, it was on where was that video at? Was it on his?
He streamed it live.
He streamed it.
It was
That's
some
right.
of-
This is why it's like, come on, no one's
yeah, yeah.
It was some obscure streaming site
Yeah.
that nobody had ever heard of, too.
This itself is an interesting time capsule because nowadays, if an athlete is streaming live, that's happens every day. It's like
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
other thing.
Right.
At the time, I remember it being like, "What is he doing? A live stream?
Yeah.
How bizarre! Does he
was-
not know better?
Yeah.
It's
And
like when
honestly,
he-
it probably wasn't as bad as it seemed.
He's smoking hookah.
Yeah. Like, Who cares? Players do that. Players do that every day.
The thing that was weird about it was that he said something like, "Oh, see, I told you they're going to trade me." That's what was weird about it.
It was after the Moutier pick. He said, "Hey, I'm going to Sacramento." That was the thing. Yeah.
Right.
I do remember Tim Conley though, just looking like he came through the ringer as he goes to the podium and like was asked about it. He's like, "I wish he wouldn't have done it." He's like, "I don't love that he did it."
Do you want me to tell you my druthers?
Do you remember Gilbert Arenas? By the way, this is back in like 2004. Had a blog. Mm-hmm. He was like one of the first blog, and it was so weird at the time. And I remember people being like, "He's an athlete. What is he doing? Sharing opinions, whatever." It was dumb. Like he had like.
Turns out we were all right though. No. I've got enough of these opinions.
I'm saying he just was early to the game of like he was ahead of the curve for this.
Shaq was the first person I remember on Twitter.
Really?
Shaq had and he used to tell people where to go to get tickets and stuff like that. But he's the first athlete I can like really remember in like 2009-ish on Twitter. So
it's funny to think of how these evolve over time, like Twitter. So he was using it to do these odd giveaways, and now we use it to yell at each other.
Yes,
about everything.
Yeah.
Really
we should give more stuff away.
To keep it moving, so Rick Carlisle's in Indiana. It was funny. He did say that he hopes Jason Kidd will coach the Mavs.
I like how Rick Carlisle is leaving Dallas and just throwing a match on the Mavericks.
A little bit. Like I feel like he did. So Rick Carlisle, a bit of an a-hole, right? That's his reputation.
Yes.
Not even a bit.
Yeah.
Let's just say it. He's an a-hole. He's like a really thorny personality.
Yeah.
right.
And so it is. I think that the little bit of this is like he's just being himself. I don't think he's being an asshole. I think he's being himself, which just happens to be an asshole.
Yeah.
What I mean is I don't think he's trying to harm.
Yeah,
the Mavs.
of course. Yeah, he's just saying
I don't know.
unfiltered
Maybe just
thoughts.
a little bit. Maybe just a little.
It's
bit.
possible. Do we have any indication as to why he left? Do we know anything? Do we have? Do you have any little birds on the street?
Certain Luka forced him.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think this was
Really.
I think everybody was excited for him to
spicy.
move on. You know, here's the thing, though, man. We remember everybody got fired the same year. I don't remember what it was, 2015. Whenever Shaw, it was like around Shaw was, every NBA coach got fired. And then I remember we went like 3 years and there weren't almost no coaches got fired. And people were like, is the NBA over it? And no, like now all of a sudden everybody's fired again. It just goes in cycles. But here's the thing I wonder. Larry Bird has the quote about no coach keeps the locker room's ear for more than 3 years. And that's why he stepped down. He was a great coach. Right. And after 3 years, he stepped down. They asked him, he's like, 3 years, and then players kind of start tuning you out. And I always think about that because there's very few players that are not like that. And so when we talk about Rick Carlisle, was he a bad coach? No. But maybe his time did just expire. It was like, you know what?
I think there's something to that. Maybe not 3, maybe like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely something to that.
Rick Carlisle, a well-known control freak, and also, which is one of the reasons he and Rondo clashed with that whole messy situation.
Yeah,
but there was the other part of it is that I think just you saw in this playoffs how Luka, it just was very obviously wasn't listening to him.
Yeah.
And I think at that point you're like, well, if your superstar player is not listening to you, you're done. You're toast.
Yeah.
So
you're
really
not
at the
listening
window
to
those
you
players.
or the pro gambler that's running it.
Yeah.
But I wonder,
Bob.
Bad
By the pro gambler, man. We could do a whole show on that, but we won't. But it does make me wonder, even you just think about a Michael Malone, like I think he's obviously a great coach and he's done a lot, but is there a fear at all for diminishing returns? Meaning just at some point it's like you've used all your good speech. I remember my high school coach, he had the best speech of all time. The best speech of all time. He used it sophomore year. Used it again junior year. Used it again senior year. It's like after a while you're kind of like, doesn't have the same punch now that we all kind of know where this is going. And that's obviously a ridiculous example, but what do you think?
That's why it works for why the college coaches tend to be long term. First, they have a lot of control, and second is that they're already cycling through players,
true,
so they're not getting
really
tired of their shtick.
Yeah,
and harder for coaches. I mean, even Greg Popovich. Man, he doesn't have Tim Duncan on that roster anymore.
Right.
And Duncan was the perfect marriage with Greg Popovich.
Oh, of course.
And you could tell the whole Kawhi thing happens. I doubt that happens with Duncan there. I really don't.
Well, it did happen with him there.
No, well, yeah, but I mean, he doesn't
Kawhi was like the better player though.
Duncan was also on his last leg.
Well, but what I'm saying is they all respected Duncan, and he was like the voice of the coach, basically, because let's face it, Greg Popovich can be an asshole, right? Yeah. So I mean, you need a guy like that. Like for George Carlo was Tim Gergerich. That was his coach. That was like the good cop, basically, for them.
Well, but are we talking about a pairing between Michael Malone and Nikola Jokic?
I mean, we could. Maybe that's part of it is that they have a similar Duncan relationship there. I'm not. This is by no. I have no critiques of Michael Malone. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm just
you
saying.
probably have a few. I mean,
No, well, okay, but I'm not sitting here saying
Sure,
like
no,
he needs
no,
to be
no,
fired.
of course.
I'm just saying that it is a thing that it seems that there's a life cycle, like a shelf life of even good coaches that expires over time. And
I agree.
it is. I mean, yes. If you're talking about specifically the get players to want run through a wall,
Yeah.
but then but it's in the example of the Greg Popovich of the world. Like he set forth a system that didn't require him to get people rah all the time. So like if you're coaching in the right way, like. And there's just different styles of coaching, but like so if you're coaching from a cerebral way, then you can go have a long tenure.
You remember the Nuggets beat the Spurs a couple years back in the playoffs, and Popovich is like telling them to foul, they don't. Then he kind of just sits down, and I'm telling you, I think part of him was like he just knew. Yeah. He's like. I get him to foul. I call a timeout. And I give him the speech. And we go back. He's like, these guys are done.
Dude, it's no league for old men.
No league for. He was just like, because you can see him on the bench. He's like, all right, well, good year. Not going to complain.
Loosens the tie.
Loosens the tie. Yeah.
It's this weird, crazy keep your hair
Pop
flailed
has
out.
a place here in Denver. He does a favorite restaurant he goes to, and sometimes. And this is true.
Noodles?
He'd get thrown out just so he could get to early to that.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta hit that happy hour.
Yeah.
What's still going on?
That's so funny.
Yeah, like you tried getting a seat at the Cheesecake Factory after 6 o'clock.
Real
Spaghetti
quickly,
Factory.
we should talk about Bucks Hawks because it was a freaking great game. These playoffs have been so awesome.
They've been
man.
incredible.
They've been so great.
It makes me like filled with joy and regret
I
and
know,
longing.
such
Like
regret,
I'm so
such
conflicted.
longing. Trae Young remains my favorite player. He's past
Just
Nikola
like that.
Jokic. Yeah, it's already. No,
Wow.
I'm kidding. All right, maybe not quite that hard, but he is. Like I'm telling you, I'm a complete 180 on him over the last year or so. He's fantastic. I love the way he plays. I love the spirit he plays with. I love the
Great
competitive
spirit.
gusto he plays with, and also just the belief in. Well, first I'll ask any questions about the game. I mean,
It was great. Yeah, I watched the whole thing. I loved the shrug.
The shimmy.
After he got rid of Drew Holiday on that fake, I just was like, okay, this is where this is going. And I'm kind of, I mean, Matt Moore's, I don't know if he's watching this right now. I am very meh on the Bucks, and I think I'm rooting for the good story. And I really think the Hawks are the best story right now in the NBA.
Don't you feel like though the story you can mine a good story out of any situation? The story where Giannis Antetokounmpo
It's a good story.
does
It's a good
not
story.
decide to go to a major market like Los Angeles.
Ah,
He stays in Milwaukee.
that's a good story.
He brings to them the championship that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did not deliver, or did he? Whatever.
I
The point
think
being,
he
it's like
did.
the point
I think he
being is
did.
that the little guy gets rewarded for
radar
shooting.
Yeah, he definitely did.
What doesn't
actually.
matter? That part I obviously added in, but just in
1976.
the current day NBA, like we need the story of
It
a
would be a good
superstar
story.
deciding to stay in a small marker and is rewarded for it.
Right.
That's a better story.
That is a good story. It's a really good story. Phoenix is a good story to me too. The Clippers are even kind of a good story. It's weird, man.
I can't root for the Suns. I'm sorry. I
You
just
can't root for them?
No,
I could do
They
without
beat the Nuggets.
Clippers
I can't
story.
do it.
The Clipper story is a good one because they lost Kawhi and like Paul George, although he just choked. He might have choked
It's
away
not
this.
the problem with the problem with the Clippers is that they were born of.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, they were an abomination.
But it's a little bit of they were given the key, they stole the kingdom, and then it was taken from them, and now they have to rise again. There's a story like that. I don't know what it is. The lob to Collins off the backboard in the playoffs.
That was great.
The ball's on Trae Young, man. This is what I appreciate about him, man. He just such supreme belief in himself.
Yes, dude. He has like full Napoleon complex, but he might be Napoleon.
He actually is. He's actually Napoleon. He's the first guy with Napoleon complex since Napoleon to actually be good. But just like you're in a tight game, and allegedly that's a play they always just dick around with in practice. You know how you always have a shot you try or whatever.
Right.
They always try this, and they're like, "Hey, perfect instance.
We can do it.
Close game of a must-win first game of the playoff. Let's just effing do this." And it was perfect, and it was like, "Come on, man."
I was more disappointed with, or not disappointed, but on the relative scale. Sorry, was the running a play for what's his name,
Connaughton?
Connaughton.
Oh,
my
they didn't
God.
run the play for him.
I know, but I mean, God, that was not only was that bad, that whole scenario bad, but
but-
he shoots like an airball, basically.
Dude, Connaughton.
It's like-
the
Not
funny thing
basically. It
It was no basically
completely an
It was a
airball.
completely airball.
Nowhere close.
I thought for sure it was into. It looked like for the TV angle. It was like perfect
Dude, the
shot.
second
Wait,
he lined
what-
up,
what
I
is
could
the-
tell his launch angle was too like. It was,
Here's Pat Connaughton was like player of the year in basketball, baseball, and football.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
of course,
his
yeah.
and I think it's in Massachusetts or so. Like he's not like he's from Vermont or something, and he's just like the super athlete. So he's kind of a great because you look at him, 6'4".
He's in the
so
dunk contest.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's what I'm saying is he's actually like a super. It's funny you look at a guy like that and we're all like, you can't give it to Pat Connaughton, who's like one of the best athletes to ever come out of Boston.
I know, but he's not one of the best shooters to come out of Boston. Like
I know. I'm just saying
the
it's
3-point
funny.
shot. Come on, bro, Bud. What are we doing?
It reminds me of Smush
Give it
Parker,
to
who's like
goddamn
life
Giannis.
story is nothing about overcoming adversity and reaching the
much
heights
rather
of
Pat
basketball, the
Connaughton
pinnacle
take
of
that
basketball,
shot than
only to be known as a bust.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, this guy overcame homelessness and everything else to get to the NBA, and now we all think of him like, what a loser.
Wait, what? News break.
What is
Aaron Patterson, our own. He pitched against Connington in college.
What?
He absolutely dominated.
I think
me.
he told me the story once.
Wow.
before.
Unbelievable.
That is a great story.
That's great.
Wow, that's off. All right, one little point because we're running along on this first segment, but one little point I wanted to make about the games. Really, I think this is true of the Phoenix series, and it's definitely true of the Atlanta series. Is that all of those players play so empowered and with such belief. They also happen to have new coaches, Monty Williams and of course Nate McMillan, and maybe there is a little bit of a like boom, new blood in. Everybody, he starts believing in guys that the old coach didn't believe in or this or that. And you watch Trae Young's balls to take the shots that he does, make the passes that he does in big moments, and it reminds me of Michael Porter Jr. when he shot the three-pointer and did the little twirl around in the corner, which was probably peak Michael Porter at the NBA level because it was the back half. It was
MPJ's already peaked.
Well, I'm saying to date. But what I'm saying is that Michael Porter at that moment, he's played without confidence, I think. Or it's not necessarily confidence. It's like it is confidence, though, in like what he's supposed to be doing and this or that.
Right.
And he kind of peaked right there where it was all coming together. Murray's out. He's the second guy, and he's getting all these shots. Then he gets to the playoffs, and it's like, did Michael Porter, was he throwing alley-oops off? Was he taking those crazy shots that he knows? Like, I just feel like he is at best 80% there. And Trae Young put the work in to get here to where a coach would believe in him, and I'm not trying to put this on any one person, but I look at this Nuggets team this year and I think, did they all have belief in each other and in themselves to the same degree that we see from Phoenix and Atlanta?
No, because they didn't have Jamal Murray. They don't believe.
That belief went out the window
But I'm even talking about
April.
individual belief. And like I said, Michael Porter.
We saw them with great conviction and great belief coming down the stretch, and then they hit a point where it was like, oh no, we need somebody to hit outside shots.
Yeah.
And it's not Aaron Gordon, unfortunately, even though we really want it to be.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the scenario. Like, look, Jamal going out, you can't really dig too deep on anything,
Of course.
including the psychology of the team. However,
Okay.
you could tell that Porter was affected by, I wouldn't say confidence, but the fact that he was guarded aggressively and didn't have a counter for it. And I think that part was more disheartening to him than not having confidence in his shot. I think that was it. He didn't have a counter to Norm Powell or Mikal Bridges.
Normal Powell.
Powell.
My only hope is that he just builds up his body. He gets stronger over this offseason.
No.
It's just a connection, though. George Karl always uses that word connection. It's a team that plays connected, and part of that connected is it's a group confidence. It's a shared confidence. Like, yes, Trae Young has enormous confidence in himself, but he also has confidence that John Collins is going to go up and get this crazy off the backboard. Like, they just seem, those two teams in particular, all seem to have a trust, connection, and confidence that elevates all of them. And Denver didn't have that. And you're right. They didn't have Jamal Murray. So, of course, because Jamal Murray brings that belief.
Yes, he
Jamal
does.
Murray is the connector.
He is the
in a lot of
connector?
ways.
All right.
He
He is the connector.
He is the connector.
New
All right.
nickname, Jamal Murray.
All right, let's take our first break. I just thought it was.
Report.
That's just what stands out to me the most of everything is when I'm watching those two teams specifically. I'm like, man, the confidence just like.
It's because they don't know enough to know what they don't know. They don't know that they're not supposed to be able to do this.
It's like Denver last year. Just
Totally.
It's like Murray last year didn't know better than to like.
Right, irrational confidence.
Yeah, rational confidence. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we're going to compare and contrast the 76ers. We're going to talk about analytics, just favorite topics.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask,
Did you bring your calculator?
is their failures a result of the process as much as their successes to this point?
Spicy.
Wow.
Guys, go to Gabby.com/DNVR to find out how much you can save on car and home insurance. Gabby customers on average save $961 per year, and they'll never sell your info. I'm not going to say it.
Let's leave it right there, shall we?
Your typical Gabby customer, your typical Gabby customer, not talking about anyone on this panel, will save $961 per year on average.
Typical.
So go to Gabby.com/DNVR. You put in all your car and home insurance info. They'll run your numbers.
I want to see if I'm actually baked into this read, or if
you're
everyone just brings it on themselves.
I wasn't even inferring that. We were talking about you. They'll run your numbers against 40 of the top providers and see where you can save money on car and home insurance. Gabby.com, it stands for Get a Better Insurance with Gabby. Totally free, no obligation. Go to Gabby.com/DNVR. Go to Gabby.com/DNVR. And right now at DraftKings, you guys can still bet $1 if you're a new user, win $100 in site credits.
Who's going to win you
a basketball team to win?
Who's going to win you $100 in site credits tonight?
It could be the Suns or
The Suns.
Clippers.
I'm taking. Well, man, the Clippers. Yeah, this is a tough one. It's a tough one.
I mean,
I would still
it's
go
a
Suns. I'm telling
game
you.
3 that the Clippers should win.
You gotta go
the
with the
Suns are
Clippers.
getting Chris Paul.
You got to go with the Clippers.
Yeah, they're down 0-2.
And they're at home.
And they win every time they're down 0-2 now.
And they're at home.
I hate to say it, guys.
Uh-oh. Let's hear it.
Suns and
You
4.
son of a You son of a bitch.
Sorry, I didn't want to say it. You guys made me say
Suns and
it.
4 was actually an odds boost on DraftKings.
such a great job by them to latch on to a meme.
Doesn't look that
It
bad
just
right
makes you
now.
it makes you want to fight.
It makes me want to fight.
But
Get my ass.
pick any basketball team that's still in contention. Bet $1 if your team wins. You win $100 in site credits. They've got tons of other odds boosts and tons of other stuff to bet on DraftKings, of course. So make sure to download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their next game. If they do, you will claim $100 in free credits. That's promo code DNVR for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Wager paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
So, back here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast, here we got our guy Jeff Morton. So, the Nuggets had a rough exit, swept by the Suns,
Right.
but also not horribly surprising given the injuries. The 76ers had, at least in my opinion,
Much
an
worse.
equal but probably much worse
Much
exit
worse.
from the playoffs.
Way worse.
Way worse.
Because Denver, I don't feel like you can look at their process and say that it is wholly finished, it is wholly over, or it was incorrect, it was flawed. They got some injuries. And while there are individual things you could point at, you can't say the whole. I don't think that's true of the 76ers. I think we can now look at their team and their roster, and namely their 2 cornerstone pieces, and say that was a 6-year slow march to this point where it is now inevitable to break up. And look, the news since a week ago has now been, Rich Paul met with Doc Rivers and management team, and they hashed it out. And
Anytime a tweet starts with Rich Paul, it's never good.
it's so true. Great for
never
the
good.
player that is being represented.
Yeah,
It's terrible
right.
for the fan base. It's terrible for whatever. But you just read the tea leaves there, and you're like, man, I don't see it. Like, this sounds like, hey, let's make it sound like we're okay for a month before we, let's put on a face for the kids here, because we're gonna.
Yeah, we already have those tickets to Disneyland.
Yeah, we're just gonna do this one trip. We'll sleep in separate beds. So it's fine, whatever.
Right.
Anyway, here's my hot take, Jeff, and I think you might agree with it, just knowing where your takes all come from. I think. Well, because this plays into people will credit the process and say it worked. Look, they have a great team. They've got these 2. Even if you trade Simmons, you probably can get something for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think their their successes are a result of the process. They tanked. First of all, the process is not genius. It's so dumb that it's treated like this genius thing.
No, it's a genius marketing ploy.
Yeah.
They called it the process.
No,
Yeah.
but the team never called it that. That's the thing about it.
By the way, it was Rice to Ricky Sanchez guys that really are the geniuses of the process, because they branded it.
brought it.
Yeah.
They brought it.
Oklahoma City doesn't have anybody out there making up a cool thing that's going on right now.
Yeah.
It's just
Presti's the guy. Presti's the guy who mastered that sort of thing.
Yeah, if you actually think about it, it's the easiest thing you can
Basically.
do in the
very
NBA.
ungenius, very ungenius. But the Rice to Ricky Sanchez guys,
Remarkably
Spike,
ungenius.
people hate Spike, and I get why, because he's the GOAT troller of all time.
Oh, he's a professional antagonist.
Professional antagonist. And people fall for the dumbest trolls from him. It's like he's so clearly trolling. Denver shouldn't have the altitude makes him unqualified. Come on, guys, it's not a serious take. How are you falling for him?
Right.
People. If I get in an argument with him, I will change his mind. Like, nope, he's just trying to get you to argue. Yeah. Anyway, they created that and it branded it and it worked really well. But what they also did during the process was create not just a culture of losing, but murdered any chance you had of a culture of accountability. And I think this is those chickens coming home to roost. Roosters coming home to chicken.
Or
Is the roosters coming home to chicken right now?
Are coming home.
the cock is crowed.
To rooster.
Yeah.
So
More foul analogy.
That's very foul. But I think it is. Like, look, Ben Simmons for years was empowered because he's so talented. He's clearly a max talent, and I still think that's true. He's so clearly talented that, hey, man, is he not working hard? Is he hiring his brother to be his guy? Is he doing some stuff that maybe doesn't, you shouldn't do? Yes, but whatever. Right. And now, here you are 6 years later, and he has not gotten any better. He can't shoot. And now, not only can he not shoot, he can't even shoot a layup.
Right. No, I this is the way I look at it. Warning signs should have been out there for everyone. When you have the Jahlil Okafor and Nerlens Noel situation, fighting.
Nerlens destroyed his rental he got a house and just destroyed it. Oh,
like they had to take basically fire to it to clean it.
Yeah.
Right. So
I forgot about those stories. Those are great examples.
That started when Hinkie was still there.
Yep.
And a lot of that had to do with Hinkie was not exactly the guy who was known for being great with social interaction and stuff like that. All right. And it just filtered from him not wanting to deal with anything. And then it went straight down to it because the ultimate goal was to lose. Right. And it didn't matter what you did. So the ultimate goal was to lose. Well, poor Brett Brown survived it. But man, forever, I'm just scarred by the fact that he was going through a no accountability culture.
Right.
And once that happened, it's just I don't think you can recover from that sort of thing, and it's going to, in my view, take a while for them to reset everything before they can come out the other end. And it may take just getting rid of Simmons and just rebuilding around Joel Embiid.
Yeah. I don't think Simmons' struggles and him not getting better is because of the process and the losing mentality. I think a lot of some of Philly's problems are, but not Simmons. I mean, Simmons' rookie year in 2017, 2018, they won 52 games. The process was reaching its final form by then. So it's not like Simmons started playing and they were still trying to lose every game.
Right.
They were a 50-win team his rookie year. I think Simmons' faults are really all have to do about him and
sure.
His agent.
This is by no means
taking
his off personal responsibility.
Right. But
was there a culture of accountability with him? That's the question. Was he? We talk about in Denver. Michael Porter was. They were so hard on him, and Murray even you had to earn it. You had to earn it. It was the opposite with Simmons, where it was you don't shoot, you don't like to. Remember when Brett Brown said you need to shoot 1-3 a game, and he didn't take one for the rest of the year.
Right. Yeah,
it's there just was clearly no matter what it is we're going to challenge you to, you're above us challenging it.
That's interesting. In my view of this entire thing, it's not exactly the culture that was set by the losing. It was just the way that the cookie crumbles. They made the wrong picks. They picked Markelle Fultz. They picked
Fultz for sure.
They picked they picked Jahlil Okafor. They picked all these they picked all these guys. So they end up with just when all the dust settles, they have two guys. They have Embiid and they have Simmons, and Simmons is flawed.
They actually drafted a lot of really good players. They just didn't end up hanging around.
Right. Yeah, Covington, Jeremy Graham.
Right. Yeah. So to me, it's it doesn't mean the process is flawed. I mean, unfortunately, it did yield the results they were looking for. They just didn't get the right guys.
Yeah.
They didn't think about the construction of the team other than just the high draft pick.
Right.
I did a podcast on this a couple days ago, and the only thing that I was pointing out was that there is really be careful ascribing genius to things. This is why I always get the cult of Daryl Morey always bugged the crap out of me because
he's really good though.
He's good, but it's it's not genius. If you just do your job. With the Denver Nuggets, they never had a pick higher than 7 this whole experience. And they constructed a very competitive, contending team without like going through a quote unquote process. They just had good scouts who were good at their jobs. And that's not genius to Tim Connolly. That is just employing people who are good at what they do, particularly in the scouting department.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, the whole thing with the process was like, if you're going to get a star player, the easiest way to do that is by getting the highest draft pick possible. Yeah. Usually the way you do that is not getting the MVP at the 41st pick in the draft.
Right.
Like there's a lot of luck that goes into that.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to get a star player is at the top.
I think Denver and Philadelphia are actually pretty big contrasts. And that's what makes them so interesting. Like in an alternative world where the NBA actually knows how to market themselves, they would be marketing Denver and Philly. And this is why part of me hopes that this feels like an overpay for Ben Simmons at this point, but Zach LaVine for Ben Simmons would make Denver and Philly like mirror opposites of each other in a way that would just be so cool. It'd be like Murray and Zach LaVine, very similar, all the way down to the ACL injuries, you know.
Right.
Embiid and Jokic play the same position. Teams that trusted the process and built slowly through it. It would be so cool if it was like, but culturally I do feel like they are opposites in that Denver did a very, nope, we're not going to tank it all. They didn't get higher than a 7 pick their entire time, but they focused in on the culture, development, and this or that, whereas Philly was the opposite. They're like, we just have these numbers and we're trading one number for a better number.
Yeah, well, and half the reason I think people in Philly have such a hard-on of hate for Nikola Jokic is
Do you want to form a band called the Hard On?
The Hard On of Hate is
It's a Hard On
Is
of
that a
Hate.
metal band? This is a great one. We got to turn Hard On of Hate into a great. You're right. Philly does have a Hard On of Hate for
but
a
I
new
think
segment.
it has less to do with the center position and more to do with the fact that how dare a guy be selected 41 and we have our process a gold standard third pick in the draft who he's perpetually had injury issues and he sat out almost in his entire first year. That doesn't matter. We had the third pick in the draft, so it was justified right there. And I think that it just burns them that Nikola Jokic is the superstar.
Of course it does.
And he was a second round pick, 41st pick in the draft.
Of course it does. And the whole thing with the weird Philadelphia hating Denver is that when Nikola Jokic was awarded first team All-NBA over Embiid, that's where it began.
Yeah.
And now it's gotten out of control.
Philadelphia is just jealous about everything that has to do with
Hate us
Denver.
because they ain't
The
us,
city,
bro.
hate us 'cause they
the
ain't
city,
They
the
don't,
weather.
they don't like our weed.
Yeah,
They don't like
the
our
weed.
No, I think they're cool with our
Denver,
lead.
bars,
the
the
funny thing
breweries,
is Denver
the-
really
the
truly
basketball
is
players.
a city of brotherly love.
Oh.
You know what? Denver is a very
Bros,
nice.
I gotta tell
city,
you, bros,
brotherly
I
love,
love you
man.
guys.
Yeah,
We
me too.
should get our own Liberty Bell, but fully with no.
But it
No
actually
cracks. Yeah, of course, man. Like we
It's
should
like
have our own
it has
Liberty
its
Bell.
own It like just sounds more joyful with our version.
And Philly's just like angry and like known for eating shit on the street. That's what they're known for. Like that was after winning.
Yeah,
They
I know.
won, and they're like, you know what we should do to celebrate? Eat a pile of shit. Anyway, it's just very contrasting cities.
Yeah. Real hard out of hate.
Real hard on of hate out over there, man. But this is gonna be so pandering. But it's like this is one of those things where it gets easily overstated, but it's also true. There's like the kernel of truth in this. And Harrison, this is your tweet. You only shared side by side photos of the exit interviews for Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. And here's Joel Embiid. I'll be honest. I thought the turning point was when I don't know how to say it. We had an open shot and we only made one free throw. And then he goes on, Jokic, I said it to the guys. It was my bad. In the post game, I really needed to be better after posting 32 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists in a playoff loss. And look, yes, is this easily exaggerated? Of course. But I also do feel like this is what I'm talking about. There's two very distinct cultures, and the result of one culture is your best player sitting up there putting on numbers only Wilt Chamberlain has ever put up in a playoffs and saying I could have been better, which he could have been. And then Joel Embiid having the biggest turnover of the entire game that sealed their fate because defensive ace Gallinari was like, this guy doesn't know how to handle a double team. I got him. Stealing it and getting the 8th turnover for the second game in a row and then going to the post game and being like, my buddy who I've been in the foxhole with for 6 years, his fault. This is the result of two different strategies.
I totally agree. I mean, both guys were kind of right in a way. Ben Simmons was terrible. Nikola Jokic could have been better.
Totally.
But Nikola Jokic would never throw Jamal Murray under the bus or anyone. He wouldn't throw Marcus Howard under the bus. Nikola Jokic would never do that.
I hate that you're making me side on the side of the hard on of hate, but or hate for whatever. But
not hate of hard-ons.
But the thing is that, like, that's just more Jokic versus Embiid. I don't think that's emblematic of the two cultures. Like Jokic, if he was playing in Philadelphia, would still be the same.
Do you think?
Sure. You're not.
Do you think Chris Paul would throw DeAndre Ayton or Devin Booker under the bus?
No, but we're talking about the top human being.
Yeah.
Like taking on.
You're not wrong, but this is all part of the ingredients. This is what I'm saying, is that this is all part of it.
Yeah,
what does Tim Conley always say?
They would never draft
when
Jokic,
they always bring people in. What do they say? Like, we like character guys. This is what we're going to do. And like, you take a little bit of a hit when you're like, hey man, we're going to pass up on this really talented player to get character guys. But in aggregate, what you keep is that culture. And it was the opposite with the 76ers, where like clearly this stuff didn't matter as much. And now your final point, it ended at the exact point it was destined to end at.
I love that we're just summarily burying them. It's over in Philly.
Look, no, it's over. No, it's not over. But they are going to trade Simmons. And at a certain point, like, was the process just draft Joel Embiid? Like, that's not what the process was. But that's what we're all left with. Like, every single piece will eventually be gone, except for Joel Embiid, and maybe. Just maybe even Joel Embiid.
Although, to be on the side of the hard-on of hate, like at a certain point, you just want as many bullets so that you can assure yourself that at least one hits.
They're a ship of Theseus, though, that has like literally nothing
Joel
left.
Embiid.
I'm glad that we've incorporated hard-on of hate.
Yeah, dude.
This whole thing. We should also incorporate. We should also incorporate '90s band Butthole Surfers.
Yeah. Oh, what a segue!
I had a dream last night. They actually have some bangers, real bangers. You know, what's their? Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right, end this portion of the show.
Smell you. Close.
This is I don't know what it sounds like through a microphone, but live,
pretty good.
It's a rough listen.
It's great.
Put a little reverb on our mics here, Kale, if you could. Just.
I was a half note ahead.
Anything else we want to say here in contrasting these two teams? I mean, you know what's funny is Denver made it out of. I didn't realize Philly had never made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
They were a bounce away.
A
bounce.
They're very close.
A bounce away.
I remember watching that bounce in the makeshift lounge at Pepsi Center during the playoffs, and I'm like, up, and it was just, it was amazing. And that's the closest I came. That was the best team Philly had, I think.
That was the Jimmy Butler team, right?
Yep.
Philly losing this year, though, is even funnier.
The Jimmy Butler dynamic in Philly is fascinating too.
Oh yeah.
Again,
yeah.
This goes back to culture though, because what did Jimmy Butler say about all those dudes? They're losers.
Yeah, they're just not about it.
Like
Jimmy
not
Butler
about it.
is so about it.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were just not.
He's all about heat culture, is what he is, and that's really what the caricature of heat. Not caricature. It really is what it is. Heat culture. Accountability, go hard all the time, that sort of thing. Be injured a lot, but go hard all the time.
To Philly's defense, like to those guys' defense, Jimmy Butler is at one total end of the spectrum,
right?
And he can really only be himself around the exact right type of team, because people always be like, remember when the Nuggets were interested in Jimmy Butler 3 years ago, and it was like, oh, we need Jimmy Butler. I don't think Jimmy Butler would have worked with the Nuggets at that point.
At that exact
Jimmy
point.
Butler would work with them now, not at that point when those guys were so young and just needed to find their way.
I remember talking to Nate Timmons in the parking lot of then Pepsi Center, Ball Arena, and we were talking about Jimmy Butler, and he says, I don't know, man. I'm like, he would eat these young guys.
It would have been
alive.
Minnesota 2.0 probably.
Here's the thing is, I actually don't think he would have. Like, what we know now about how they grew him, I do think it was too early.
It was too
early. But I also think that he would have had at least a healthy respect for Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, the two main pieces, because I think he would have been in like, oh, they work hard, they keep their head down and do this, and they're confident. And that's just the opposite. And again, I'm telling you about a guy like Ben Simmons when the team is like, hey, just take a corner three a game and whatever. He's like, I don't need to do that. And you've seen the interviews where he's like, that's not my game. That's not the shot we're trying to get. It's like, dude, they are clearly trying to get you to take that shot. You just don't want to take it. Yeah. And you can just
if he would just develop a floater, I mean, just extend out
with his right hand.
Yeah, with the right hand to shoot with, like Kevin O'Connor special.
Dude, can I tell you guys?
Kevin O'Connor's dead right about that.
My daughter is now she's doing T-ball. She's 4 and big slugger for a 30-pound girl. But I'm pretty sure she bats left-handed, and it's killing me because I'm not certain. Like I have her do both, and like she clearly more coordinated doing it left, and I'm like terrified I'm gonna Ben Simmons her, and like
no.
maybe I just have her
gotta
practice
go
both
ambidextrous.
because it really isn't that
More of a
different. But
chance
like
to
one
get to
is
the show
way
that
more
way.
coordinated, it has way more power, and it's left.
She's a switch hitter, bro.
But she throws right. And so I'm like sitting here, I'm like, am I screwing her up for life by teaching her to hit left? And
Who was that? Was it Ricky Henderson that batted ambidextrous?
A lot of
He was
them. A lot of
switch
people.
hitter.
Yeah, it's called a switch hitter. It's
Yeah.
a very common thing in the in MLB.
Dexter Fowler.
I'm just saying, man, that's a
Well,
4-year-old T-ball.
we're going to see your girl on the show. I can't wait to see
I can't wait for it either, man. All right, let's take our final break. We've buried Philly enough.
Have we though?
And for this episode.
I really wish that, honestly, James Harden belongs in Philly because they are.
wow.
I'm serious. They are such a the
culture
only
of
thing
losers.
that matters is the spreadsheet, and let's put the spreadsheet on the court. Like James Harden is the ultimate spreadsheet player. And
Yeah,
just send
he
him
is.
there, man.
He is the spreadsheet player. Just send him there. It would be. You're right. He'd be perfect there.
He'd be perfect.
But Embiid would be reduced to like a glorified garbage player.
they'd
like,
hate each other. They'd end up fighting.
Clint Capella. On that note, guys, if you're around the DNVR bar, if you're on East Colfax, stop into Solace Meds. They've got a ton of other locations also, one in Fort Collins, one in Wheat Ridge, one off of Broadway, and like I said, one just blocks from the DNVR bar on East Colfax. When you stop in there, just drop the code DNVR20. They'll treat you like a VIP. With that code DNVR20, you'll get 20% off your order. And if you go to that Wheat Ridge location, you'll actually get a free Solace bar or King Cone.
Doesn't this sound delicious to
When
me?
you mention the code DNVR20 as well.
Solace bar.
A King Cone?
A King Cone.
Sounds
I
like
just envisioned those cones you used to get at like gas stations in that little freezer.
yeah, it definitely sounds like it comes out of the back of an ice cream.
It's
car.
a joint. You guys realize?
Well, I
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
but that's what I
I was just
envisioned.
making sure.
We
That's
know.
what
I'm just
I
saying.
Eric
it
goes
sounds
in there
delicious.
hungry.
It's
and they're
not
like,
ice
oh,
cream.
wow.
You're talking
not
about
ice
you're
cream.
talking about the weed.
Yeah, it's actually weed. I saw some meds. Okay, all right, just making sure.
They got tons of other deals in the month of June as well. 15% off all Gold Shelf concentrates, 20% off all Wana tinctures and tarts. Tons of other deals. I could go on for 20 minutes about them. But use that code DNVR20 when you go in to receive 20% off your order. That's valid at all of those locations. Also, if you're looking to take out a mortgage, if you're looking to buy a house, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, hit up the good folks at Chevalier Mortgage, Mike and Virginia Chevalier. Go to dnvrmortgage.com, get set up with a free consultation with them there. Those guys know everything about the mortgage business. They can really make a super complicated process really easy for you. Like I said, especially if you're a first-time buyer. They know what to do. They know the business. They know the game. So visit them at dnvrmortgage.com. Get set up with a free consultation. Mike and Virginia Chevalier. They're part of the DNVR fam. They're Denver sports fans, so they're one of us. Hit them up today. Michael Chevalier, NMLS number 1931006. Virginia Chevalier, NMLS number 1910631. And finally, Hassel Cattle Company. Right now, they've got an awesome deal for DNVR listeners. Buy 3, get 1 free on their flank steaks. Delicious, lean, flavorful, the marbling, exquisite.
Oh, I thought we were talking about you.
Or me.
Delicious, lean, flavorful.
My marbling. It's exquisite. Buy 3, get 1 free on those flank steaks with the code DNVR Flank. Use that code at checkout, DNVR FLANK. Those flank steaks, only $9.99 a piece, so really affordable as well, and they're really good. Buy 3, get 1 free at hasslecattlecompany.com on their flank steaks with the code DNVR Flank. And if you're in the area, if you're on South Broadway, stop into the DNVR bar. We've got our burger with Wagyu beef, the best burger.
Dude, that
around.
thing is, I tell
So
people,
good.
I frequently recommend it to people. Why wouldn't I? It's absolutely delicious, but it always comes with a warning. It's very juicy. The juice is loose. You need to make sure that you eat it in such a way that you don't, that you don't damage your clothing because again,
It's a sit-down
it is
burger.
quite juicy.
Moist.
It's a sit-down burger.
Don't say moist on this podcast.
Say moist burger.
Yeah, Jeff, get the hell out of here.
So if you have like a bunch of flank steak and more than say like the guy next to you, does that mean you've outflanked them?
No, Jeff, I just told you to get the hell out of here.
Hey, man. I'm kidding. No. Bad, Jeff. Bad.
Oh my god.
Hey, look. There's very few things that I'm actually known for what just happened here is one of them.
I don't even know if it's a pun. It's like you.
No, it's just
You
bad.
force
It's
your
like
way into a pun. You tell a
play on a
story to
word.
arrive at a pun.
It's just like I've thought. Of
So I
something
told
and said it.
her, flank you later. Like, what? That's the name of the thing, dude.
All right, are we done with ad reads?
Yeah, we're done.
All right, so we can now get on
We're
to
past
the
done.
Oh, to finally the meat.
the feast de resistance.
I thought it would have been the flank steak, but the real meat of this show.
The real meat of the show, which is that Jeff, you are known for being an old.
Yes.
You have been old since you were young, but now here you are, a Gen Xer. Oh wow, look at these glasses. Those, what are those? So can you? Are they so you can see movies in 3D?
Yes, these are my old man cataract glasses.
Yeah, well, yeah. After you get LASIK, you get those.
After you get LASIK. Pull that graphic up again so we could admire. I turned my head the whole time, Kale. I apologize. Maybe everybody else saw
X
it.
versus Z.
Kale, X versus Z.
Look how sassy I look there.
X versus Z. There we go. We have Kale, super producer Kale. You can bring yourself up onto the show. You are now a character. Kale is a young.
Yeah.
Jeff
Yes.
is an old.
Yes.
Can I reiterate my favorite part of Jeff being the oldest man in Denver?
Yes.
Is that we're the exact same fucking age.
The same age and yet
We're the same
you're
age.
part of the difference.
It's not the age, it's the mileage.
Yeah.
I look like
I love it. He's a 1976
I-
Subaru,
yeah.
but
I've
he's
been-
got 12 million miles.
Yeah, and I've been in a barn under a cover. So.
That's so true. You're a classic.
I am an AMC pacer.
Okay.
Pacer. We should have put some cars on here. Is what we should have done.
I know.
That would have been a great one to have. A nice. I told you I had a 1982 Dodge Rampage. I'm telling you, it was the dumbest cool car there ever was, or coolest dumb car. All right, we are going to bring up some things. And Kale, it is your job to tell us if you know what they are. Jeff, you'll wait at this early portion. He'll get a guess,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
you'll get a guess to clean up for him
Got
should
it.
he not get it.
Got
All right.
Kale, what are we looking at here? I'm not
Who
sure
is
I know
this?
this one. Who is
What?
this? I don't know this
Pop star
Yep.
from the 80s?
You don't.
Okay,
you
that's
don't
not
like
yeah, sort of 80s. Yes.
90s?
Yes.
Yeah, 90s. Yes.
Do you have an
You got
answer?
this
We're
one?
No,
going to
I
an
don't.
answer.
I don't know.
Of course, Jeff knows this. Who's
I
this,
don't know
Jeff?
this one.
It's Bjork.
It's Bjork.
Oh, that's
this
Bjork?
is Icelandic,
I have no
Icelandic
idea. I
super
have no
pop
idea who
star
that is.
Bjork.
All right.
Bjorn
She's
Borg?
exuding Icelandic weird.
One of
right
my
there. It was
favorite
like-
rap lyrics is in Wu-Tang when they rhyme Bjork with Jim Fjork. It's a great fucking line, man. All right.
All right, so the round one goes to
To
X.
Jeff. That goes to X.
Guess X.
X gets the circle.
All
X
right.
gets the square.
Number 2, we have...
Brendan,
That's
okay.
Brendan Fraser. I know who that
Yeah,
is.
Okay, but what movie is this? Dude,
And
a
who-
classic!
and who is to his right?
You don't know this one, Jeff?
No, I do. It's my 1990
That,
something.
whoever
wheelhouse.
is to his right is...
Well, to our right,
that
to
is
our right.
definitely Samwise Gamgee. I know
Yeah,
who
yeah,
that
yeah.
is.
Well, that's
No,
not
the
his
other
real name,
side,
but
though. The other side.
Oh, yeah, no
Who did
idea.
you say that?
No
The other
was?
clue
side
who
is
that
definitely
is.
more 90s.
the Wisa.
Do we know who that is?
I don't.
Okay.
Dude, he is like, do you guys know on TikTok Stony McStoner or whatever that
Yeah.
guy is? That's what Pauly Shore was.
It's
you know,
Pauly Shore.
like, it's like based on
Yeah,
Pauly
it's Pauly
Shore.
Jeff, can you please come in and back clean up here? Wait,
Encino Man.
this
A
is
great movie, as I remember. I haven't seen it since I was like 12, so I can't. It might actually be a
There's
terrible
no
movie.
way that movie is a great movie.
Oh, it was great.
It's definitely not a great movie.
Is it a great movie?
Yes, it's the perfect example of the 1992.
Yeah, it really is a perfect example.
can't be that
Can I
good.
just tell
then.
everyone
No, I'm
quickly?
telling you, they don't make them like this anymore. Where it's like the plot of the movie is that they dig up a caveman
Yeah,
while building
because
a
they're
pool.
building them all.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a
pool,
pool.
you're
Yeah,
right,
swimming
you're
pool. And
Oh,
then they
that's
thaw him
that
out in
movie?
their
I've
garage.
seen
And
that
then they
movie.
become
and then
friends.
take him to high school.
Yeah, they just become friends.
Take him to high school.
Cal is trying to clean up his.
There were a lot
I've
of
seen
drugs
that
involved
movie.
writing that script.
I have
Okay,
seen
well,
that.
X gets the
X
square
gets
again.
the square
dude.
again. Wow, Kale, I thought you'd be better at that. I'm so
All right.
disappointed in you. As oh wow.
Oh,
You have
okay,
to know
I
this
even
one.
know that one.
Kill.
You
Who
have
is
to know
this?
this one.
I don't.
Unbelievable.
Oh my
Michaela,
God.
move
Jeff?
over.
Yes, Brian Bosworth.
The Boz.
I'd like to
Unbelievable.
clarify. I was born in 1997, guys. Like, I don't.
we're like
Yeah, there
we're
was
like
a very good
upset
30
that you
for
don't know
30 on
these
this.
people we specifically picked that you would not know.
How dare you?
Yeah, this was curated.
You haven't seen
in
The
such a way.
Godfather? Get out.
All right, that one I do. There's like 5 movies that everybody just has to see.
Yeah.
That's
So,
one of them.
Kale, what show did these
Oh,
two
yeah.
come from?
Whoa!
I don't know.
No way!
Oh, my
Dude, this photo is a time
Give me a
capsule of the
clue,
90s.
like-
It's like one word.
Well, do you know who either of these people are?
No, I don't.
So
Wow.
do you enjoy the show Big Bang Theory?
No, I don't.
Good for you.
but-
I'm proud of you. But Maya Bianca is
that her name? I think
Belong-
yeah, I was gonna
Bian-
say, that's not
Bian-
it. That's definitely not it.
Mayim Bialik.
Yeah.
Maya Bialik. Maya Bialik.
Killing it.
That's
What's
a
his
name?
You know, because I don't.
This is comes
his name's
from
like not known.
This comes from the very popular show
character, yeah.
Blossom. That's her older brother,
Never heard
Joey,
of that.
Never
and
heard of
he didn't even have a catchphrase. He had a catch noise.
Whoa!
He would say "whoa" all the time. It was a terrible time to be alive. You're better for not knowing it. Hey,
All
Alan.
right, that's Steve Urkel.
Y is on the board. Z is on the board.
Dude.
Steve Urkel. I wonder why
freaking go.
he's the one that translates eras, but I guess we're
All right,
transcends.
and then we've got a couple more old ones that Eric
Yeah, keep
sent
going,
me.
man.
What movie is this from? No idea,
I
right?
don't know the movie, but that's Ethan Hawke.
Sure is.
Sure
Who's
is.
next
I
to
know
Ethan
that.
Hawke?
Yeah,
No
I know-
clue.
Janine
I don't know
Garofalo.
any of the
Janine
others.
Janine
Who's next
Garofalo,
to-
also a 90s time
Who's next to
capsule.
Janine Garofalo?
Oh, another one. Yep.
If Ryan doesn't know it, I feel like both of us are screwed.
Yeah.
If you got the one on the far left, that'd be even greater. Because these are all like 90s people.
Did you see Stranger Things?
I've seen him and stuff, but I don't know his
Is it
name.
Steve Zahn?
I do
Is
not
that-
know
is
his
it
name.
Zahn?
Zahn. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember his
Zahn.
And then next is
Eric
Winona
Zahn.
Ryder.
Do you not know Winona Ryder?
And he's
Oh, that's Winona. You're right.
yeah, that's Winona Ryder. And it's,
Okay.
and it's
This is from the
No.
movie
You know the
Reality
movie?
Bites.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Reality
Reality
Bites.
Bites.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have to
give
yeah.
him the All right, he had
I
it.
wonder if Jeff knows Reality Bites.
But not pictured in there was
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I know.
Give
he
him-
didn't
give
make
him an extra point
He
for
didn't
that
make the. He didn't make the poster somehow. But if you
Yeah.
remember Ben Stiller at that time,
Yeah.
he had bad teeth. Like
Yes.
he's really more of a 2000 star, even though he should have very much been a 90s
Yeah,
star.
exactly.
All right, what else
Jeff,
we
are you,
got?
are you
All right.
comfortable? While we
This
put
is the
this together
last
to
of
make
the
you
old
comfortable.
stuff, and this is Crystal
comfortable.
Pepsi. I know
All right,
exactly
Crystal
what this
Pepsi.
is.
There you go. I tried
Okay.
to blur out Crystal.
Okay, do you remember the song they played for the commercial for
No.
Crystal Pepsi?
What is it?
Why would I know that?
Not you.
His name is
Right
Eric.
now,
Oh.
Van Halen.
Right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
Come
there was this
together.
big controversy. They had this. They were playing this, and so it became associated with Crystal Pepsi.
Can you imagine if like one of the greatest things you ever do, like the actual zenith of DNVR
Well, the
is
one
that
thing-
it gets tied into
Yeah.
like Cheetos?
The one thing I'll say is that the song "Right Now" by Van Halen is absolute hot garbage. So it doesn't
it's
matter that it got
terrible. It's
co-opted
terrible.
by
Yes, and it
Crystal
was
Pepsi.
associated
You
with
got
that
the right
awful,
one, baby.
awful drink.
You know, that was
All right, so
another one.
now
All
let's
right.
flip the script.
Anyways.
X.
All right, X. Now you're on the hot seat. You guess first. You don't
Oh.
guess yet until it's your
Oh,
turn.
boy.
Okay.
Now
Kale.
Kale
We'll
gets
get any of these, I
enact his
promise
sweet
you.
revenge. Oh no!
Yeah,
Kale,
he'll
this
get
One
is
more.
this
Is
is
this
Kale.
X.
is this
Yeah,
the Wonder Years?
No.
Kale-
Oh yes, I love that you guessed that. It's not. No, it's just it's the
Assume-
perfect guess. To
Kale,
be funny.
what area code would you say that these? What zip code rather?
90210.
There
Is this
you go.
This is Beverly Hills 90210.
The one I would have
Oh no, Allie comes running over. All right, what else we got?
Okay, this is now for
for Jeff.
Now the turntables.
Oh my goodness, how the turntables.
No goddamn.
Her eyes. She almost is not a predator. She is a prey because her
She's a
eyes.
prey. Oh,
because her
because-
eyes are on the side of her head, so she can see movement on each side. That's how wide their eyes are.
She's a prey.
Anyways,
You're saying she
that's
got fish
Lord.
eyes?
That's
That's
Lord.
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 Anyway,
No idea.
Okay,
No clue.
who's this, Jeff?
Oh, that's Nicki Minaj.
Hey! He called you Dixie
Okay,
Minaj?
okay. I'm gay. I know.
Oh, that's true.
We should have figured that out.
I actually did. I actually did.
I did factor that in.
I did.
He's like, guys, you
Jeff
realize.
also hasn't been living under a rock for the last 10 years.
Jeff, who's this?
I don't know who this one is.
I don't know.
This is Bad
Bad Bunny, yeah.
Bad Bunny.
This is
very
ba-
popular right
Yeah, you may.
Don't
you,
ask me why
You
I
may
know
know him as
Who? Ollie G. It does look
you may know Bad
He
Bunny
looks
as
like- I was
the
gonna
most
say-
one of the most popular artists.
was
Yeah,
gonna say-
Bad Bunny also played in the 2019 Celebrity Game at All-Star Weekend. That's how I
What?
know him.
Jeez, wow.
All right,
Harrison
and,
with the deep
You
cuts.
watched the Celebrity Game?
All right, Jeff.
Last but not least.
Oh, this is for Kale.
Oh, that's Napster.
I've been like,
Okay, I'm not that old.
I thought you had more. I thought
You
there
did
were
have more.
How did you
No,
not get
I
them?
only got 3 of my
when I
era
see that, I
ones.
think of Metallica.
Yeah, I got Lord, Nicki Minaj, and Bad Bunny. That's it.
You guys don't really. I mean, I guess the youngins take it like Napster invented the internet of today, where everything
Right.
could be stolen and free, and like what is the point of anything? But that was like when it first dropped, man. I was in college. It was like freshman year of college, LimeWire and Napster going strong, and
Right.
it was like You mean if it took hours? But I was like, I'm going to
hours.
download all of this
You know,
album.
I'm
I'm going to download the Kanye West discography.
You don't understand. Like my entire life up until that point was like all based on earning money to buy music.
Oh, totally,
Yeah,
man.
yes.
Totally.
I was a movie theater manager.
Movie-
All throughout college. I never hung out with anybody. Also, I could buy music, and what happens?
Yeah.
Then it's free.
I worked at a grocery store, and my two purchases when I was in my late teens and 20s, early 20s, and my sole purpose was to make enough money to buy booze and buy CDs, which were ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, they were $20 a piece back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember? So like Napster and LimeWire, the two things. Family Guy, that's like the thing everybody would download. It's like, oh, I got the new Family Guy, and then UFC for some reason. Maybe this was just my world, but that was like the only way you could watch UFC fights, and it was always like Gracie.
That was
versus-
LimeWire, wasn't it? When you would download on
Both of them, they kind of were like concurrent. Like
Yeah.
I did Napster went away, and LimeWire.
I put
Yeah.
so many viruses on my dad's
Oh, of
computer.
course.
I feel so bad.
The funny
looking back
thing is
on
that
it.
these things are generational. So
Why is
still,
the computer so slow?
I don't know, man. Could be anything. Could be
The internet.
anything. I don't know.
Internet connection.
But the funniest thing is that they, my music library, because it's been passed down from like those era to, I have so many mislabeled songs from when I downloaded.
Well, that was the
With no
worst part.
cover
You had
art.
to go back in and like take the time to correctly label it.
no album information and
Yeah.
like misspelled name, and you're like,
Yeah.
whatever, man. It's just like I know who this is.
Yeah.
To this day. Anyway.
So like I was just thinking, the 90210 picture. There was Brian Austin Green in the corner there, who later went on to do porn. So
All right.
There you go.
And let's go and wrap this bad boy up.
so if you want to know more information about Brian Austin Green,
Jeff,
He
it's
was also
been great
married-
having you in the lounge, man.
yeah, it's the very first.
It
time
got
I've
a
been-
little
last
weird
time.
right at the end, I have to say.
Got real weird.
We'll think about it. Yeah.
It was awesome. Everybody, we appreciate you guys spending your Thursday afternoon with us. You guys know tomorrow is Casual Friday. You thought we
Dude.
were casual today.
Oh man.
I might wear a bathrobe into work. It'd be so casual.
Underwear.
You
optional.
might wear
Yes.
shorter shorts.
Shorter shorts. I'm going to be so casual, you guys.
This sucks.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hit that like button on the way out. See you.